Verse 8. Nahi prapashyami mama panudyad yachchokam uchosanam indriyanam avapya bhumavasapatnam ridam rajam suranam apicharipatyam. Even if I gain a substantial kingdom beyond compare and the power of the demigods, I see nothing that can remove this grief that is eroding my senses. Anuvritti, commentary by Jagad Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha Maharaja. This second chapter is where the Bhagavad Gita truly begins. Bhagavad Gita literally means the song of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan means the absolute truth. Here, for the first time in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is addressed as Bhagavan. According to Vedic scholars such as Parashara Muni, Bhagavan means one who possesses all wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. This is a quote from the Vishnu Purana. Aisvaryasya samagrasya virasya yasaha shriyaha ganam vairagya yoschaiva sanabhaga itingana. He that possesses the attributes of sovereignty, potency, fame, wealth, knowledge, and renunciation in full is known as Bhagavan. So that was the Vishnu Purana. Additionally, Jiva Goswami, the 16th century Vaishnava philosopher, says that Bhagavan is bhajaniya guna cha ananta nanityaha. He that possesses all adorable qualities and whose all-attractive nature is such that he attracts our feelings of affection and adoration. In contemporary society, there is much debate as to whether God exists or not. First, it is necessary to define what we mean by God before his existence can be determined or dismissed. Accordingly, the seers of the truth in ancient India have concluded that if there is a God, then God must necessarily be the owner and proprietor of everything. He must be all-powerful, the most famous, the most beautiful, the possessor of all knowledge, and at the same time detached or renounced. After careful analysis, those seers of truth concluded that only Sri Krishna could be and is the ultimate fountainhead of reality, the absolute truth. These findings have been corroborated by many sages through the ages from before 10,000 BCE and are dealt with extensively throughout the Vedic literatures such as the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Brahma Samhita. A quote from the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna is the supreme controller. His form is made of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. He is the origin of all. He is the master of the cows and the senses. He has no other origin, and he is the primeval cause of all causes. That was Brahma Samhita. And here we have from Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete kamisha kalaha pumsa krishnastu bhagavan svayam indrari vyakulam lokam mirdayanti yuge yuge. The various avatars are either plenary expansions or parts of plenary expansions, but Krishna is the original source of all avatars. When impious elements disturb his devotees, he manifests age after age in order to protect them. That was Bhagavatam. And here we have from the Padma Purana. Harer Eva Sada Rajam Sarva Devishvarishvaram Itare Brahma Rudraja Nava Iyam Kadachana. Only Sri Hari, Krishna, should be worshipped as the master of the entire universe. Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods never violate this principle at any time. That was the Padma Purana. And here we have from the Vishnu Purana. Yatra Bhatirnam Krishnakyam Param Brahma Narakritim. When the Supreme Person descends in his human-like form, he is Krishna, the Supreme Brahman. So the Vishnu Purana. And here we have from the Gopala Upanishad. Tasmat Krishna eva paro devas tam dhyayet tam raset tam bhajet tam yajet. Thus Krishna is the Supreme Person. One should meditate on Him. One should delight in Him. One should worship Him and make offerings to Him. So that was a Gopala Upanishad. And here we have from the Mahabharata. Grishir bhuva chakaha sabonascha nirvriti vachakaha tayorakyam param brahma Krishna idya biyajate. The syllable Krish refers to the all-attractive quality of Krishna, and the syllable na refers to his spiritual bliss. When the verb Krish is added to the affix na, it becomes the word Krishna, indicating the supreme truth. That was the Mahabharata. Arjuna has become overwhelmed with compassion for those who are about to die on the battlefield. In fact, such is his grief that he himself is prepared to die rather than kill his enemies. But Arjuna is a warrior and from a noble family. Therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna against his weakness of heart. If one is a warrior, it is one's duty to face the enemy and not cower away. Fighting is indeed a nasty business, but when duty calls, such fighting may be unavoidable. In ancient times, acts of aggression were abhorred and strictly forbidden in society and between nations. When such aggression did occur, retaliation and war were acceptable. According to the great sage Vasishta, there are 6 types of aggressors, and according to Manu Samhita, these aggressors are to be met with lethal response. Here we have from the Vasishta Smriti. Agnido gardas chaiva shastra panir danapaha setra darapahari sajasad ete hiatatayinaha. The arsonist who sets fire to one's house, one who administers poison, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who usurps the nation's resources, one who invades and occupies a foreign country, and who kidnaps one's family members, all should be considered as aggressors. That was the Vasishta Smriti. And this is from the Manu Samhita. Atatayinam ayantam hanyad eva vicharyan natayi vadhi dasohantur bhavati kaschana. Without hesitation, a warrior should destroy aggressors, as there's no bad reactions in slaying them. That was Manu Samhita. These verses are according to the rules given in the Artha Shastras, laws of society. Yet the Dharma Shastras, laws of Dharma, which are superior to the Artha Shastras, state that one should never inflict harm on any living entity. Ma himsyat sarva bhutani. What to say of one's family members and superiors. This was Arjuna's dilemma. Being a soft-hearted devotee of Sri Krishna, Arjuna was disinclined to take up arms against his family members, but being a warrior, he had to face his destiny. In this state of bewilderment, Arjuna decided to put aside his casual relationship with Krishna as a friend and accept Sri Krishna as his guru, spiritual master. Thus, Krishna accepted Arjuna as a disciple. According to Vedic knowledge, there are numerous planets and parallel universes wherein life can be found. Some of these planets and universes have higher standards of living than we experience on Earth, and some are lower. If one performs one's prescribed duties in this life, then accordingly one is elevated to higher planets. However, if one neglects his duty, then only infamy and descending to lower planets awaits one in the next life. Krishna has used the word anarya, meaning non-Aryan, to describe Arjuna's disinclination to follow his prescribed Vedic duties. For centuries there has been much controversy about who is Aryan and where the Aryans came from. For the most part, all such considerations have been based upon bodily designations in order to establish one race of people as superior to another. But in Bhagavad Gita, according to the words of Sri Krishna, the Aryans are those who carry out their duties in accordance with the Vedic injunctions. Thus it is understood that the word Aryan does not pertain to a particular race of people, but to a conception of life and a way of living. Knowledge of the eternal existence of infinite consciousness, Krishna, and the finite individual unit of consciousness, Atma, or the Self, is the key to all Vedic wisdom. This will be the central theme of Krishna's instruction to Arjuna in this chapter. Verse 9. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukta hrishikesham gudad keshaha parantapa na yotsha iti govindam ukvatusnim babuvaha. Sanjaya said, having thus addressed Sri Krishna, the vigilant conqueror of enemies, Arjuna declared, O Krishna, O Govinda, I will not fight. And he became silent. Verse 10. Tam uvacha hrishikesha prahasam iva bharata senayor ubayor madhye visidantam idam vachaha. Descendant of Bharat, there between the two armies, Sri Krishna, Hrishikesh, smiled and spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Verse 11. Shri Bhagavan uvacha asosyanan vasosjastvam prajanavadams chabasase gatasun agatasums cha nanuso kanti panditaha. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, while speaking like a wise man, you are actually grieving for that which is unworthy of grief. The wise neither lament for the living nor the dead. I'll add a note here. When I first heard this verse, I didn't understand clearly what was meant by the word lamentation. A person who laments is in ignorance of the situation of the laws of karma. He may think, oh, why does everything happen to me? Oh, God, why me? Why me? Not understanding that as you sow, so shall you reap, as the good Lord Jesus would say, that what we have done in the past comes to play out in our present. So in other words, for every action, there's a reaction. If I've done something bad in the past, then the reactions to that will sooner or later come to me. So we do not blame the environment. We do not blame others for our misfortune, but we understand that I brought on my own misfortune. And similarly, if something happens to someone else, we understand that their karma has come to get them, but we don't simply think, oh, it's their karma. We may think that, well, maybe it's my karma to try to help them. Maybe we've experienced something similar. Maybe we've done the same thing. Maybe somehow we can help that person. The biggest help that anybody can give is to engage others in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, especially hearing and chanting the holy names of Krishna, because there isn't anything that burns up bad karma better than the holy name of Krishna. It is said that sinful reactions or bad karma flies away like scared crows when they hear the holy names of the Supreme Lord. So the best welfare activity that we can do for the people in general and for ourselves is to engage in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, hearing and chanting the holy names of Krishna. Verse 12. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam nimi janadipaha nachaivanava vishama sarve vayam ataparam. There was never a time that you, nor I, nor all these warriors assembled here did not exist, nor shall we ever cease to exist in the future. Verse 13. Dehenosmin yata dehe kamaran yalvaram jada tata dehantara praptir diras tatrana muhyate. As the Atma passes through the bodily transformations of childhood, youth, and old age, it similarly transmigrates from one body to another at the time of death. The wise are never deluded by this transition. We'll give an important note here. By this verse of Sri Krishna, we can understand that reincarnation actually is taking place in this lifetime. People want to know if reincarnation is real or not. Well, if you analyze it scientifically, you can understand. If you know science, then you know that all the molecular particles of the material body change very rapidly. There isn't any molecular particle in your body that you have today that existed 8 years ago. Every 7 or 8 years, there's a complete turnover of atoms and cells. The brain cells are the only cells that do not change, but the molecular particles that make up the brain cells do. So suffice it to say, the body that you had 8 years ago is gone. But where are you? You're still here. That is you, the consciousness, the Atma, the self, the individual unit of consciousness. Let me add a note to my own note here in a correction. Now new science has discovered that brain cells do actually change. And before they said that the brain cells and the nervous system cells did not change, but now new evidence suggests that they do. And of course, this is science. They're always changing their truth. What was true 10 years ago is no longer true today, although they pose as the great knowers of everything, and everybody simply accepts whatever they say as the absolute truth. In fact, they're always changing their truth. This truth that we're speaking here in Bhagavad Gita existed from the beginning of this universe. It has not changed, and it will not change when this universe winds up. It will remain the same, because that is the absolute truth, and that is the difference between modern material science and true science, spiritual science. As Albert Einstein once said, science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. So Albert Einstein was a wise scientist, and he also appreciated the Bhagavad Gita. Today, the media stars for science people such as Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye simply sell out for fame and fortune, promoting such things as GMOs and using aborted fetuses. Whatever their corporate masters tell them to say, they will say. So there may come a day when they regret promoting Albert Einstein. We'll see, but it wouldn't surprise me. So just to clarify further, before they would say that the cells of the brain and the nervous system don't change, but the molecular particles that make them up do change. Now they're saying that the cells change also.